Hi there! Welcome to Live with the Paper Pixie. I'm Julie DiMatteo, the Paper Pixie, coming to you live from Alpharetta, Georgia. Tonight is episode 251 of Live with the Paper Pixie. As you're rolling on in, say hello and where you're watching from. Yay! I'll say hi to a few of you. Hi Alicia, Cindy, Charlene, Carol, welcome. Hi Joy, Stephanie, Cheryl, Connie, Becky. Welcome you all. I'm so excited you're here. I'm also excited my mic is working this week. So awesome. I'm going to wait a couple seconds for Brian's cameo because he's running upstairs really quickly. But so tonight we're going to be using products from the Rustic Harvest Suite. I am ready for fall already, even though it seems like it's going to be a very ways away here in the Atlanta area. Brian, are you ready for your cameo? My husband, Brian, is checking for your questions and comments tonight. If you do have a question for me, be sure to put a Q colon in front of your question. That will tee up your questions. We will do Q&A at the end of tonight's live stream. That way I can focus on tonight's projects. And then we will answer any questions you have at the end. I'll stay on until we get all your questions answered. If you shop with me, you earn Pixie perks on orders of $25 or more. If your order is under $150, please be sure to use the current host code. And the easiest way to do that is to use my shopping link, thepaperpixie.com/shop. That will auto-magically add the current host code for you. And if your order is $150 or more, just make sure you take that host code off because you will earn Stamp and Rewards. We also we're in the midst of celebration, which means you can earn free products with a $50 purchase or products with a $100 purchase. And Stampin' Up! In the last week has added an additional 10 items that are there's 6 that are free with 50 and 4 that are free with 100. You can check those out. We do have 2 exclusive celebration products that are now sold out forever, which is so sad, but it is the Pool Party and Soft Seafoam cards and envelopes and the Tree Lot dies. Those have sold out for good, but they added 10 new items from the mini catalog and the annual catalog. The free with $50 purchase items range in value from $7.50 all the way up to $15. That's the brushed metallic cardstock. And then at the $100 level purchase, there are those prices range from $32 to $38. So fantastic deal. They're great dies that are available. I do have a flyer that I'll show you when I flip the camera here. I was frantically doing measurements ahead of time and I realized I took my projects into the living room. So that's what Brian was doing ahead of time. I'm going to do show and tell really quick, but this is what we're going to be making tonight. A really quick and easy card that I absolutely love with the Rustic Harvest Suite, and a quick and easy treat holder that you can create with just a 6x6 piece of designer series paper. Lily does not have show and tell for y'all tonight. It is the first week of school for the kids. So Nolan pulled together, he has he told me that this was a box lifter or what do you call those things? It's like a forklift, but this is to load up the plane with boxes. So this is what he designed last week while he was home. The kids started school Monday, 1st grade and 4th grade. So our wagons are dragging this week because, I'm going to come back to this really quickly. I think I may have shared this story last week. There's a bus driver shortage. So the kids' bus actually comes at 6:41 in the morning. Now it's hard to get up that early, but I love getting an early start to my day. So you'll notice I'm back to posting to my blog. I think I have another 16 or 17 blog posts that are sort of backlogged, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's early pickup. Our poor bus driver has like 60 bus stops in the morning and at night or in the afternoon. She has to do 2 rounds of bus stops. So I hope that they get a chance to add some additional bus drivers for sure. So let's go ahead and jump into tonight's projects. I'm going to start with the 3D project tonight. I was frantically writing down the measurements, but we'll figure them out on the fly for sure. But this is an easy project. You've probably seen this style box before. It's probably a Poodles project to start with. I'm not even really sure. But I love the fact that it only takes a 6x6 inch piece of paper. I want to show you where this suite is in the mini catalog. So let's do that really quickly. Well, we'll just bring all the stuff out so I can show you. I do want to show you really quickly the flyer for the additional items that are more to celebrate. These are the 10 new items. Again, if you look for the yellow circle, that's free with $50 purchase items. Again, those range from $7.50 to $15. And then there's 4 sets of dies ranging in price from $32 to $38. Love the dots and spots die if you haven't added that. That's one of those standalone dies that you may have missed from the annual catalog, but these are available through August 31st while supplies last. All right, so on page 48 of the mini catalog is this beautiful Rustic Harvest suite. One of the things I love about this suite is the black background on the designer series paper. It just gives the suite a really rich color scheme here, and lots of fun things to do with the designer series paper and the bundle itself. This suite comes with a die bundle, this really cool leaf label and amber gem combo pack. You can also grab the new Embossing Editions toolkit, which has the reverse tweezers. The embossing buddy is back, the powder pal, and we also have a brush here to help brush off stray pieces of embossing powder. 12 by 12 basic cardstock, and then this gorgeous designer series paper called Rustic Harvest. Let me show you that up close. Beautiful colors. We've got Cherry Cobbler, Mary Merlot, Mossy Meadow. I believe the yellow is Crushed Curry and Early Espresso. Love, love, love this. Beautiful. This is what the leaf label and amber gem combo pack looks like. Again, this is my own storage solution here, but you get these amber gems and then you get these great leaf tags, which we're going to use for the 3D project tonight. That I'm going to end up needing in a second. And then I've got a bunch of these dies out already, but this is the Hello Harvest bundle. It's a cling stamp set bundle, so that's our red rubber. Love the sentiments in here. Wishing you the loveliest day. You are such a blessing. Hello is always a great staple. I love this one. You are missed. But I've got a bunch of the dies out already. Yes, somewhere behind me. Hold on a second. Wanted to show you the details here. So this cuts out this amazing banner here. Okay. And then this pumpkin could not be easier to put together. Now we've got the die that cuts the stamped image pumpkin, but this is a like 2-step. Basically, you cut 2 of these and layer them over top each other, and then you get this fantastic pumpkin. I love that. And it's got texture to it as well, and texture to the stem too. And it's got a little section here that makes it easy to adhere it to the pumpkin, which is awesome. I think that's all I have to show you. Let me put those dies. Well, I should be putting them in my magnet bowl, but I'm not. And then we're going to be using the crinkled seam binding ribbon. I just love the pop of white. I was using the gold shimmer ribbon on this, but I just loved pairing it with this, with the white. Just really makes that black background paper pop, okay? All right, now this is one of the patterns from the designer series paper, and this pattern specifically, you can get card fronts that have this perfect vignette on the front of it, quick and easy card fronts as well. This treat holder only takes a 6 by 6 piece of paper, so you can get 4, and the way that the 12 by 12 is it's basically repeating this pattern along one side, and then it's upside down on the top part. So you can get 4 perfectly cut pieces for this self-closing treat pouch, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the Simply Scored. And we are gonna start with our pattern. If you're gonna use a directional pattern paper, you want the pattern to be going top to bottom for these first few score lines. And we're first gonna score at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. I'm gonna rotate it clockwise, and we're gonna score this at 1 3/8. And I'm actually gonna flip it for this part because I wanna score this the other way. We're gonna do this at 5. And that's just because the top part of our treat holder, we're gonna kind of fold backwards. Okay, so let me repeat that again. 2 3/4, 5 1/2 with our top to bottom pattern this way. Rotate it clockwise, 1 3/8, then I flipped it just to score the other way, and 5. Okay, I'm gonna flip it back and we're gonna rotate it clockwise one more time. And this is the one where I didn't write down these measurements, so give me a chance here. All right, so 1 7/8, but we're gonna bring that down to that first horizontal score line. Okay, we're stopping right there when it hits the score line. And then I believe it is, let's see, hold on, let me, it's like I need my ruler out here. This is what happens when I don't, 4 1/4, 1, 2, 3, 4 5/8, okay? And we're gonna bring that down to that horizontal score line as well, okay? So 1 7/8, stop at the score line, 4 5/8 to stop at the score line. And essentially what we've created, it's gonna be hard to see on this pattern, but these are 1 3/4 inch squares in the bottom there, okay? I'm gonna keep out my stylus, or if you prefer, you can use the stylus tip of the Take Your Pick tool, and you can just interchange these, no problem, but there's the stylus tip there. And then I'm gonna grab, I've got this metal ruler, which I love to pieces. I've got it listed on my favorites page. It comes with a 6-inch ruler and a 12-inch ruler, and I love the metal rulers because they're easy to score. Let me bring in the template just to show you what we're doing here first. So we are now gonna score these diagonal score lines. We're meeting up basically either side of this 2 3/4 inch section, diagonally down to where we made those short score lines. Okay, so I'm gonna put this off to the side. And I always recommend, especially with a pattern that's this busy, it's difficult to sort of see where the score lines stop and start. So I like to find it first with my stylus. So I'm putting my stylus right here at this intersection of score lines. And using the ruler, we're gonna score on the diagonal up to the edge of the cardstock there where it meets that 1-inch score line at the top. Okay. There are a number of different ways to do this treat holder. You don't have to do these diagonal score lines. I sort of like the geometric look of it. I've done one of these before, a much larger one. Pardon my head in the camera here. To hold a lotion bottle. So this is just a different size, but I love doing projects that all you need is a 6 by 6 inch piece of paper because it's a great excuse to use up your patterned paper. Although sometimes you don't want to use a black background paper because it's so hard to see, especially in these lights. But I promise it's easier to see when you're up close to the paper itself. All right, there we go. Try to catch the light there. You can see those V's that we've created, those V-shaped score lines, and that's what they look like here, okay? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and fold and burnish on the score lines that are straight. Well, they're all straight, not the diagonal ones and not the short ones, okay? So fold and burnish, keeping the template out because we're gonna do a little bit more to this, perform a little bit of surgery, as I like to call it. Now remember that top 1-inch score line, I actually want to fold it the opposite way. We scored it on the other side of the paper and I want to fold it backwards, just particularity for me. And then I think that is it. Now we're going to come in with the paper snips, and we've got this 1/2-inch section here along the side. We're going to remove this lower right corner, but I'm also going to come in and miter cut here just along this tab. And whichever side of the paper is easiest for you to see on this pattern, it's easier for me to see the score lines on the black side versus the white side. So the next thing I'm gonna do is cut up each of the vertical score lines, stopping at that horizontal score line. I love seeing you guys help each other out in the comments. That's awesome. If you are new here, we are gonna save questions for the end. So if you have any questions as I'm going through the projects, put a Q in front of your question and we'll get those answered at the end of the live stream. And then I'm gonna come to the top here, kind of turning it, I don't know, like this way. We're gonna remove this corner as well. and cut up each of those vertical score lines, stopping at that first horizontal score line. Again, we're looking at this upside down at the moment. I'm also going to come in and miter cut here on that tab. And by doing these cuts, you'll see then that we can fold and burnish on the diagonal score lines no problem, okay? All right, so for the most part, this is, we'll have it upside down, ready to go. I love those butterflies that are popping up there. All right, now I'm gonna fold on those diagonal score lines, and you'll see now that we made those cut marks, I can fold right on that diagonal and burnish. Just a stunning color combination with those. I love seeing the Mary Merlot paired with the Cajun Craze and then that pop of yellow. Just beautiful. Okay, so we've got those diagonal score lines are now folded and burnished. And then what we're gonna do, I like to adhere this tab first, and then we're gonna corner round the top tabs of this treat holder. Let me think really quickly here so I remember where we're gonna put let's see, tear and tape. I'm gonna do everything but this one. Okay, this is the way I do it. You can use liquid glue, anything you want. I'm just gonna put tear and tape on the edge. We're gonna do of the 3 pieces. I'm skipping one of them. I'll show you up closer in the camera in just a minute. So we're putting tear and tape on the back side. So if we have this upside down, all but this one tab, because that tab's gonna be the one that we fold in first, I think anyways. We'll figure it out when I put it together. But we don't want the tear and tape on one of the tabs because then it won't stick to anything. And then we're gonna run tear and tape along this tab, but I like to go right up to the score line as opposed to the edge of the cardstock. You can use your metal ruler to tear and tape if it's easier for you. And then I'm gonna go ahead and remove the backing of just this side tab here. I've gotta switch out the tip on my take your pick tool as I stab myself in the hand. I'm good. And then pull that backing off. All right, so we're gonna fold, if you've got any, I'm gonna show you this. We've got tear and tape kind of hanging off the edge there. Just fold that back on itself so it gets out of the way. And then we're gonna fold on that little 1/2 inch score line. So I've got this turned to the back basically, folding on that 1/2 inch score line, and then I'm gonna fold on that first vertical score line and just press that flat, okay? So it's like this. Then I'm gonna bring in I have the detailed trio punch. Again, it is retired, but any corner rounder punch will do. And I'm just gonna round the top 2 corners of this treat holder here. Like so. All right. And then we just have to figure out which side is the front. I'm gonna leave this butterfly in the back because we are gonna tie a bow here on the front. I just want that little butterfly peeking through the front. But I did design this so that the seam was gonna be here along the right side of the treat holder, okay? And essentially what we're gonna do, I'm pinching on either side here. We're working with those diagonal score lines that we have. And I'm going to then layer these tabs. I'm gonna show you first before I pull the backing off. But I'm gonna start with this back one. And then I'm gonna do the 2 sides. Those were the 2, you can notice we didn't put the tear and tape on this one. So that one's gonna go in. Then the 2 sides are gonna go down, and then the front. Just felt like that gave it a little bit of a nicer finish on this edge as well as this edge. So I'm gonna come in here now and I just kind of fold the tabs out of the way to be able to access the backing of the tear and tape. You can use liquid glue for this as well, but the bottom of the box is actually gonna fight you just a little bit. So this is a scenario where I prefer to use tear and tape because I want it to stick down as soon as I put it together. So again, pay attention to where your seam is. We've got it here on the right. This is gonna be the front of our self-closing treat holder. I'm gonna come in and we're gonna do this tab that doesn't have the tear-in tape first. Then, doesn't really matter, but let's do right, then left. And again, the tear-in tape is just sticking. You're wanting to make sure that that is square, as square as it can be, and then it just instantly holds itself in place on the bottom. And look at that. The treat holder is already holding itself together. We added that score line there, so naturally it wants to keep itself together. Then all you do is just gently pinch on the side, throw your treats in there. For this, I would probably you could put a hand sanitizer in here, you could put a handful of Hershey's Kisses, Hershey's Nuggets. It's a pretty good sized treat holder. Let me give you an idea of dimensions. The bottom is a square 1 3/8 inch at the bottom, but remember it's sort of tapering as we go. The top is a width of 2 3/4, and I don't know, it's about 2 inches in width diagonally at the bottom. This would probably also hold a Ferrero Rocher, maybe a couple of Lindor truffles. You guys will find some cool treats to fit in there. But I love this because 6x6 paper, use up your stash, and you can create this out of cardstock as well, but I love the beauty of this Pattern Designer Series paper. So now I'm gonna grab, I've just got an 1/8 of an inch hole punch, again, technically retired from Stampin' Up, but you all have hole punches like this in your stash. And I'm just gonna punch 2 holes, I don't know, about 1 inch apart maybe. I'm just kind of centering it top to bottom. It does not need to be perfect because mine definitely is not there. And then let me bring in our gems and leaves. I forget what they're called. Hold on. The Leaf Label and Amber Gem Combo Pack. We're gonna bring in one of the leaves. I love this in sort of a crumb cake color. We'll come back and use a gem as well. And I'm grabbing the sentiment, "You are such a blessing," and Memento Black ink. I thought that would look nice, but you could use Mary Merlot or Cajun Craze, even Mossy Meadow. And I'm gonna go ahead and ink this up really well. And we'll stamp it right on the tag. We've got a tag ready to go without any die cutting, which I love. Give it a second to, there we go. You are such a blessing. Look at that. Love that. It's gonna take a little bit to dry, I noticed, with the leaf label. And then I'm gonna grab the crinkled seam binding ribbon. I'm going to try to be careful not to smear my tag here, but we're going to feed it through the front of the leaf. Obviously, you'd want to put your treats in here first before you do this. And then we're going to feed it through the front of the right hole. And then through the back of the left. If you're having trouble sticking your ribbon through, grab your stylus from the Simply Score, and that'll help you push it through. And then we're going to go ahead and tie a bow here. Love the pop of white here. I love to tie off the spool, although I'm seeing here that I've got a really long tail. So I don't know how much ribbon I'm saving tying off the spool, but here we go. Let's make our bow purty. I like to get my fingers in the loops, and that gives me a little bit more control to keep that knot tight. And then we'll trim off the tails. There we go. And then the final touch on this treat holder, I'm just going to add a little rhinestone gem, or the amber gems, I believe. And we're just going to pop that right above our sentiment here, just to give a little bit of bling that coordinates so well with that project. But I love that little tag, quick and easy. Now you can see the ink is still a little bit wet. You could use your heat tool to dry that faster if you don't have the time to wait. Just gonna get that stuffed in there. And there we have a self-closing treat holder using a 6x6 piece of beautiful designer series paper. So why don't we use some more of that designer series paper and make a beautiful, quick and easy card. For the card itself, we're gonna use some white to really make that designer series paper pop. So I'm starting with a piece of thick, basic white that measures 4 1/4 by 11. It is scored in half at 5 1/2. Now that is a valley score line. I know hard to see on the camera here. We're gonna turn that into a mountain fold. That'll give you a nice crisp fold on your scoring. And this is great because we won't need to put a basic white layer on the inside because it is easy to write on just the way it is. So we're gonna then start with a piece of Cajun Craze, and this piece measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. We're gonna actually emboss this with the Leaf Fall embossing folder. It's a beautiful 3D embossing folder. Let me show you that up close. Here is Leaf Fall. It is sort of hidden in the catalog. Let me tell you where it is. It's not with the Rustic Harvest Suite. It is page 53. So just after it, you may have totally missed it, but page 53, it is hidden back here behind these beautiful samples. But that's the Leaf Fall 3D embossing folder. And let me bring in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So for the 3D embossing folders, all we need is plate number 1 and plate number 4. Those are the only 2. I'm gonna line up my Cajun Craze cardstock where I wanna pick up the pattern. So I kind of am doing this in the lower left corner. And then I'm gonna make sure that the fold goes into the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine first, okay? And I'm just gonna run it back and forth a couple of times because I wanna make sure I get a nice impression. The other trick to doing that is you can also spritz your cardstock with either water or like 70% isopropyl alcohol. That'll give you a really neat impression. And the other thing I love about embossing folders is you can choose which side you want for your project. Now, when I flipped this over, I actually loved sort of the debossed side. So that's the side we're gonna put on our card. So this side facing up, but look at those beautiful leaves. I love this folder. Now, while we have the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine out, we're also gonna do some cutting, which means I then need to bring in plate number 2 and both of number 3 cutting plates. Mine are well loved. I'm gonna grab some scrap. I'd also need to stamp, I'm realizing that now, but let's go ahead and do our little pumpkin. I'm gonna grab Mossy Meadow and Cajun Craze. I feel like I need to use my magnet just to pick those up. That worked really well. I have this telescoping magnet, which is on my favorites page, but that sometimes with my nails I cannot pick up dies for the life of me. So we're gonna do those 2 guys on Cajun Craze and then the stem onto Mossy Meadow. Gonna need that Post-it tape in a second. Let's get our pieces and parts out. Just wanted to show you, so that not only cuts, but it also embosses. Really cool pattern there for your gourd or your pumpkin, whatever you want to call it. That's the middle piece. And then when you layer those 2 on top of each other, you immediately have a 3-dimensional gourd. Obviously, you want to add the stem to the top of that, but how cute is that? I forgot to stamp, so let me move this out of the way for 1 second. Grabbing a scrap piece of basic white. We've got Cajun Craze ink, and then this awesome banner stamp, which I love. I think it says, I hope you have the loveliest day, but we'll see it after I stamp it, because I can just never remember. Mush brain here. Yes, wishing you the loveliest day. Isn't that beautiful? I love the font on that. All right, bringing in the die here. And Post-it tape, which also I have on my favorites page. These are all my favorite things to use, but here's, it comes on a roll like this, and I use that to hold the die in place while we run it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I'm just lining that up. I like to use 2, that sort of anchors the die so we don't have it wiggle on us. We'll sandwich that between the 2 number 3 cutting plates. And just kind of slowly pull the Post-it tape off just in case it got really stuck to the paper. But then look at that banner. Oh, I love that. And you guys, I almost ran out of dimensionals. I just had to place like a 2-day order because this is all I have left. Oh gosh, so I'm going to, well, we're just going to get this started. I won't pull the backings off yet, but I'm just going to put 3 dimensionals, so 1 in the middle and 1 on either end on the either side of the banner. Let's start to build our card here. So again, this piece of Cajun Craze, I'm doing sort of the debossed side. I love this side as well, but there's just something about this side that I love the way that it pops. Hold on, let me grab my glue. All right, so we're going to adhere this piece directly onto the thick basic white. And because it's embossed, I do like to do a little bit of glue kind of all over the pattern just to make sure that sticks down really well. I'm seeing right now that my scoring is a little cattywampus. Let's go ahead and fix that. You can see how my scoring is just a little bit off on the edges there, so I'm just going to shift that a little bit. Come back and burnish that a little bit better. There we go. So we've got that piece glued down. Then I've got 2 pieces. This piece of basic white, and let me double check before I get it wrong, 3 inches by 4 1/4. And then we've got this really adorable pumpkin pattern that measures 2 3/4 by 4. You can get a bunch of those out of a sheet of 12 by 12. That's just going to adhere right over the basic white and really pop. Love how those look together with the white. Don't be afraid to use white as layers because it really makes richer colors pop. There we go. And then we'll just go ahead and layer this onto the Cajun Craze embossed layer. I don't typically add a ton of dimensionals if I'm going to be using it on at least 1 layer, just so that it's not too thick for mailing. Here we go, and you'll see just a very subtle view of that leaf fall embossing folder. Love that texture. All right, let's go ahead and put our little pumpkin together. I'm going to start by putting adhesive on that sort of tab part of the stem. Now there's a couple of different ways you could do the stem. I liked the way that it looked by adhering it behind the larger pumpkin piece. You could lay it over the top. I just didn't, it looked a little off to me, so I see I've got a little extra glue there. And then we'll take this one. Now you could obviously bump this up onto dimensionals, but because we're going to be using dimensionals on the banner, I'm just going to glue that straight onto the larger piece. But look at that, like an instant tall pumpkin. I love the way that that looks. And think about all the different colors you could change this to. Super cute. Just put a little bit of glue on the stem here. We're just gonna glue this straight to our patterned paper. I know we're hiding some of those pumpkins. Like that. And then let's get the backing off of our banner. We'll pop that on the front, which I just love this banner piece. Like that. And then one more. I couldn't resist using these gems here. Grab a big one of those, love those amber gems, and we're just gonna pop that right down here. Just a little bit of bling, catches the eye subtly. Get those put away there, get my mess cleaned up, put my tools away so I can find them the next time I create. Oh gosh, too funny. And there we have our Rustic Harvest quick and easy card. We're really letting the embossing, the die cutting, and the designer series paper talk. So let me show you the two projects we created together tonight. Up close, love these. Again, this is a quick and easy self-closing treat holder using a 6x6" piece of beautiful designer series paper, and a quick and easy card showing layers with pops of basic white with that beautiful rich pattern paper. Love this, and this would just be such a sweet card to brighten someone's day. So if you loved these products, there is a link in the description that says shop this episode's products, and you'll be able to see the full suite, the bundle, the designer series paper, and some of the additional tools that I used today to shop. And if you got tips or tricks out of today's video tutorial, I'd love for you to like, follow, and subscribe. We are about to jump into tonight's Q&A, so I'm going to go ahead and tee that up really quickly. Give me one moment. Thank you guys. You're so sweet. Thank you. All right. I think that's ready. There we go. Myrtle, welcome. How was the first day of school? They had a great day. The buses were trying to figure things out. They came home about 45 minutes late, but that didn't bother them at all. They had a great first day. They've got great teachers. We got to meet the teachers last Thursday. And it's just, I don't know, Brian and I are pretty proud of the kids loving going to school. So yeah, it's been a great week. Lily's so funny. She goes, I'm so tired. I'm not used to getting up that early. It's like, yeah, after this summer where we didn't have to get up so early, definitely a wake-up call this week. I think I set my alarm for 5:40 and 5:45 just in case I'd sleep through that 5:40 alarm. So we've got a really cool bus tracking app so we can see exactly where the bus is, so we know exactly when to walk out the front door. But yeah, great first day. Thanks for asking, Myrtle. Hello, Stacy from Albuquerque. Hi, Joanne. Is your scan and cut the only one you have? It's not, Lynn. I actually started with the Brother Scan and Cut CM350. That was the one I started with. Love that one. And then I upgraded to the SDX 125E for a couple reasons. It's quieter and it's got the auto sensing blade, so I didn't have to pick and choose the depth of the blade like I did on the CM350. So I use it so often that it was worth the upgrade to me, but I've used both and I love them both. So they're both great machines. I think the CM350 has actually been discontinued, so they're probably hard to find, although you might be able to find them on like Facebook Marketplace used usually. But it's a great machine. It was about $100 difference between the CM350 and the SDX 125. Hello, Brad and Jackie. Happy new school year. That's right. Where to get your magnet sheets holding your dies? Mary, I order them from Stamp and Storage. I absolutely love them. I wanted to show you them a little bit up close. Actually, let's come back to this one. So Stamp and Storage puts this really nice finish on the back. They've actually upgraded this. The pattern's the same, but you notice that it's a little bit shinier. You can actually stick our cling and photopolymer stamp sets on the back of this if you want to store it that way. But they're really nice magnet cards. They have them in all different sizes. These are 5x7. That's my preferred size because they fit in my drawer much easier. That's where I store my dies. But they've got 6x7, they've got 8.5x11, a whole bunch of different sizes, but I love Stampin' Storage. I don't think I have I do have an affiliate link with Stampin' Storage because, as you know, I'm a super fan with all the Stampin' Storage products I use, but the paperpixie.com/SNS, which stands for Stampin' Storage, that's my affiliate link. But I love these, and if you keep your eye out, they oftentimes have sales on their magnet cards as well. But one of the best investments I've made, and I reuse these each time I get new dies. I take the ones that have retired and put the new ones on top of them. And then my plastic sleeves, because that'll probably be the next question. These come from Amazon. They are C-line shop ticket holders. They're actually 5x8, but I cut them down to 7.25, and they just fit really well. The magnet card, 5x7 magnet cards fit really well in them, and I've been really happy with the quality of these. So I used to use the Stampin' Storage ones that have the little tabs, but those of you that know me, my crafty OCD, I didn't like having the tabs all out of order as I added new dies to my stash, because I do add new dies fairly often. So great question. Let's come back to Q&A here. All right. Magnet bowl, where is it from? Amazon. Let me show you that as well, if I can pick it up. Got some weird accoutrements in it right now, so just ignore that. I have like a screwdriver and things, but what's great is if I was actually using it tonight, I would put my dies that I'm using on my project and stick them right in there. And it's meant for, what is it, nuts and bolts and screws and things, but I love using them for dies. So I've got my little pin for my ribbon in there as well, but you can find that on my favorites page, thepaperpixie.com/favorites. All right, coming on back to Q&A. Here we go. All right. I don't feel like I'm getting the best embossed detail with my dies like the pumpkin using the stamp and emboss machine. Would a paper shim help, or do you have another suggestion? Great question, Vicki. I actually would try a paper shim to start with. Try grabbing a sheet or two of copy paper. Start with copy paper first. And that, because you don't really want to feel like you're forcing it through the machine. I suppose sometimes between the 3D embossing folder, or sorry, you're talking about the dies. I think sometimes each of us have different pressure in our machines. So try a sheet or two of copy paper and see if that makes a difference. I will say that the embossing, especially on the pumpkin dies, is fairly subtle. It's not a super deep impression. It's sort of intended to just give a little bit of pattern, but yeah, try a shim of paper. But again, copy paper. I think cardstock will probably be a little bit too thick for you. Thank you, Nalita. I know you've told us which mat you work on, but you could tell me one more time, please. Yes, Marcy. I'm not calling you Margot tonight. I do apologize for that. I actually got it from Amazon. It's also listed on my favorites page. It's by Ness Home is the brand. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that. Let me come back to this. nesshome.com, but it is sold on Amazon. Sometimes those are difficult to get in stock. It's usually Prime, but sometimes you have to wait longer than the 2 days that we're used to waiting for Prime. So it is listed on my favorites page. Again, thepaperpixie.com/favorites. And you should see that down on I don't remember if it's under the video equipment, but if you scroll down, you'll find it. There should be a picture of the mat itself. Let's see, Mary's saying, do you ever emboss after you cut by using a squishy rubbery mat panel? That could work as well. What is the best way to do a miter cut? Ooh, good question, Kathleen. I do the miter cuts so often. It's sort of force of habit. I usually come in about a 1/16 of an inch. So not quite as far as an 1/8 of an inch, although you'd be okay if you came in that far. I basically angle my scissors first, and then I point the pointy tip of the scissors towards where I want the scissors to stop. And then I try to do one full cut of that. It's kind of hard to describe as far as miter cutting, but usually I will angle my scissors, and that helps me if you angle it first before you cut, that'll give you a good miter cut. I hope that helps. I knew we were going to get this question. Would tonight's treat box hold a gift card? And I tried it, and it's pretty much of a tight fit. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and untie the bow here and show you. It does fit, but it doesn't go all the way down. Now watch, that one's being stubborn. Yeah, I wouldn't put a gift card in here. What's going to happen is it only goes down. It doesn't go down very far because of the way that this starts to taper on the sides. Before was having, now that's close, but you can see it's covering the holes. So yeah, I wouldn't say that this is a good gift card specimen. Good question though. I'm glad you asked. All right. Would a Bath & Body Works hand sanitizer fit in there? Let me grab one. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but oh yes, it will for sure. Let me show you. It's actually kind of a perfect fit. So I don't know how long I've had this one. It's getting really watery, but yeah, it's a perfect fit. And actually once that's pinched closed, it doesn't shake around very much. So that's actually a perfect fit for a hand sanitizer. I love that. I don't know why. I don't know how many boxes I have for these pocket backs, but great question. I need to get a Q&A button for me to be able, oh, I do have a Q&A button. All right. Hopefully I'm not missing questions. What about white embossing? Michelle, that would be beautiful to white emboss on the leaf. Absolutely. White embossing would be really pretty on this. Great suggestion. Lynn, this is technically not a sour cream box. Because the way the sour cream box works, I'm not going to really be able to demonstrate this, but typically the sour cream box would also be pinched at the bottom. So you'd have a flat pinch at the top and then a flat pinch at the bottom. So it's similar because it's kind of going in that direction, but ultimately these two ends would need to pinch as well. So it's similar, but not quite like a sour cream box.
So somebody has to be good. Put the holes up a little bit higher so you could do a gift card.
You could put the holes up a little bit higher for a gift card. I actually wouldn't quite recommend it only because the gift card is not able to go all the way down to the bottom of the treat box. And so when I was trying to take gift cards in and out when I was trying it before the live, it kind of got wedged in there. So it all depends. If you're going to put some treats in there, I don't know. I would probably look to a different project for gift cards. That would be my suggestion. It's just the way that it tapers. It's a tricky one for gift cards for sure. Thank you, Jackie. What is the name of the larger size treat holder? If you could search on my blog for me really quickly, it is maybe self-closing, or search for the word lotion. Brian's going to try to find that for you on my website. I forget the name of it. It's been a couple years since I did that one. And if you happen to, you can show it to me if you pull it up. What do you do with all of your projects? Do you gift them or keep them for inspiration for other projects? You'd have an awe-inspiring museum of crafts boxes if you do keep them. I keep some of them. I try to give away as many of them as I can. So with, it's going to look like this, but taller and holds a lotion. Oh, there you go, that one. So the name, I'm going to jump around a little bit. The name of the treat box is the Faceted Body Cream Gift Box Tutorial. Brian's going to pop that into the comments, a link to that. So getting back to your question, Jen. But anyways, I try to gift as many times as I can. Like if I go out to lunch with girlfriends or I take it to my nail technician, I usually try to catch the postal carrier, the UPS driver. I try to give them some projects as well. Usually they love chocolate no matter what. So if demos are casing from the catalog, where can we go to get the recipe for the project? I've searched the Stampin' Up! Demo site and cannot find it. Beth, you want to go, this is for demos, so I don't want to confuse you if you're not a demonstrator. On the demonstrator website, you want to go to the Print Lab, and along the left-hand side towards the bottom, you will see all the different sample recipes of the projects in the catalogs, okay? Hopefully that helps you. If you need help, feel free to shoot me an email. What strength isopropyl alcohol did you say to spray on cardstock? I typically always do the 70% isopropyl alcohol. Does the cut emboss machine have or use a rubbery, squishy layer to help better emboss to die cut pieces? We do not, Mary. We were supposed to get one, and then when we had difficulty with trying to remember when Stampin' Up! Decided not to put it into production, but no, we do not have that. You could potentially try the silicone craft mat. However, it's a totally different, that's silicone versus the rubber. So yeah, scratch that. Don't try that. I don't know if that would actually work very well, but you can find embossing mats in other sources, just not through Stampin' Up! We were going to have one, but they discontinued production on that. How do you keep the cutting plates from warping? I love this question because I think we get it every week. And there's no exact science to it. You kind of have to let the plates tell you when it's time to flip. But Brian does a lot of the die cutting for the Paper Pixie. And he'll, about every 10 to 15 times, maybe 10 to 20 times, will swap the top and the bottom. You're not really flipping them over per se, are you? He's really just switching whichever one is on top versus which one is on bottom. It's when the top one starts to get... When the bottom one starts to warp a little bit, you bring it to the top. Am I saying that the right way? Possibly. It goes the other way around?
Opposite, yeah.
So when the top starts to warp, he puts that onto the bottom. I think so. I feel like I have an eyelash on my eye. And each demonstrator has different things that work. A lot of people flip them like top to bottom. They alternate the top two, but that's how we've found success is switching which one's on top versus which one's on bottom, but we always cut on the same side. Right?
Yep.
How big would the pumpkin be if you would use the dies using the large part of the pumpkin for the center and two smaller ones for the sides? Okay, let me try that really quickly. Great question. We'll do a little interaction here, and I'm going to die cut a few things. You might as well watch me while I do it, but let's try that. We'll do two big ones and two of the little ones, I think is what you're suggesting. So let's try that. We'll do the big one in the middle, and we'll do it as comparison to the one that's on the card. Let's try it. We got options. So we'll do two and then two more. Ooh, we make noise. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right, so if we do the big one in the middle, and then these guys on the sides, I'm not sure how right that's going to look because that's not too bad actually. Let's do a little stem. Can I find the stem? Probably not. I'm sure it's stuck to something. That's all right. We can just, oh, it's right here. Let's see what we got here. It may look a little awkward because those smaller pieces are taller. I love this. It's like choose your own adventure. All right, let's see what we got here. I think you'd have to be somewhat strategic. I don't know. What do you guys think? It actually looks more like a gourd when you do it that way, doesn't it?
Or even a pepper.
Brian says it looks like a pepper. It does kind of look like a pepper, doesn't it? Ooh, look at those, you guys that do, not punch art, but that would be cute, a pepper, like a bell pepper. But yeah, so it is a little bit bigger versus if you just do the smaller one. I don't know, you guys have to let me know what you think. So there's that one. You like that one? Or they like the bigger one?
No, they're saying pepper.
Oh, they're saying, yeah, it does look like a pepper. It does. Something different, but I think it's throwing it off just a little bit because these pieces are bigger. And I think it is intended to be sort of a tall gourd, like pumpkin. I mean, a pumpkin is a gourd, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. My hubby's the green thumb here. Great question. Oh, Barbara, you must be sick. We hope you recover for sure. At what point do you start making your holiday cards to give, and when do you find the time? Oh, Vicky. I hate to admit it, I have not sent Christmas cards in a really long time because I don't have the time to make them. I used to make them for my team. I used to make 150 cards for friends and family, but it's been a few years since I've done that as my business has gotten bigger and it's just hard to find the time. So I don't. It's hard for me to answer that question, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I still have trouble centering. Any suggestions to help? I'm assuming centering layers, Cheryl? Possibly? My bet, do you know when that question came in?
So, yeah.
Yeah, centering layers. My best tip for that is to use our grid paper, whether it's the small grid paper, which is sized for the Stamparatus, or our 11-inch by 17-inch grid paper, which is actually a better deal because you get 100 sheets for that. It's got a whole ruler grid on it. I actually recommend using that as your work surface, and then you can really eyeball your layers a little bit better using that grid paper. The other thing you could potentially do is create little strips of cardstock, sort of as like if you use your Stamparatus or even the Simply Scored, and let's say you want to have a border that is, on this example, if I measure, I'm talking about the card here, I want to have, let's see, a 1/2 inch of the Cajun Craze all the way around the basic white. You could do like a 1/2 inch strip of cardstock and use the edges of your Stamparatus or your Simply Scored to help you do line that up a little bit better. There's a couple tricks to that, but I would recommend either the grid paper or create little templates with strips of cardstock to kind of help you line things up, and use flat edges and square corners, like thinking of like a T-square type thing that would be helpful as well. But I hope that helped a little bit. The weight of Stampin' Up! Paper, Debbie, off the top of my head, I believe it is 80-pound cover weight. If you Google Stampin' Up!, the weight of Stampin' Up! Cardstock, you should see an answer pop up kind of on the first page. I want to say it's 80-pound cover weight. Do I have any tricks or suggestions on using the adhesive sheets? I cannot get the back off to mount it to the cardstock. So with our adhesive sheets, they're actually technically strips, wider strips, but I recommend you want to try to bend your paper just a little bit to find that split. You guys know, like with Brother label makers, how they've got that split right through the center of the backing. I try to slowly bend the cardstock to try to find those splits to pull the backing off. The other thing that helps is the pointy end or the piercing end on the Take Your Pick tool to help you pull that off. Now on the really detailed die cuts that can be a little bit trickier to find those lines, just try bending your cardstock a little bit to try to find those seams. Hopefully that helps. Thank you, Bobby. What was the embossing folder name and number again? It is the Leaf Fall embossing folder, and it is on page 53. The item number, if you happen to be writing that down, is 159847. If you look at the link in the description, you'll see my supplies list for tonight, and you'll see that embossing folder there in the list. Okay. Do I have a tutorial on the adhesive paper? I do not, Charlotte. Not a specific tutorial for that, but I will keep that in mind and show it on a future live stream for you. Is the magnetic plate available for the new machines? If not right now, will they be available at all? Cheryl, unfortunately, the magnetic cutting plates were available, and then there were some significant quality issues. So they've actually been pulled from the catalog. I believe they were trying to resolve the production quality issues, but we don't have any information on whether that will be coming back, and if so, when. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a wait if they're able to figure out the quality issues, unfortunately, because it was a great magnetic cutting plate, was great, but let me show you what mine looks like. Do I still have it? Maybe? this was what was happening with them. So the self-healing mat adhesive is separating from the magnet. So unfortunately, not usable the way they are. All right. Have I heard of other demos storing their plates rolled into their cutting machine? They say it has helped de-warp ones that were warped and keep new ones straight. I actually store mine rolled in the machine, not really to keep them flat, just it's a great place to store them because I use it so often. I think that if your plate is really warped, I don't think that really what will work is either flipping the plates or swapping the plates. Sometimes they just get so warped, it's probably a good idea to just get a new pair of them. But I do know that people try to store them that way just to try to keep them flat. You could certainly try that. Bobby agrees with you. It does look like a pepper. How do you clean the paper residue from your cutting plates? I don't. I don't clean it. However, you could just run it under sort of not super warm, like actually don't do warm water, just soapy water. Give those plates a scrub and kind of soak up those paper fibers with water and scrub your plates, and that should get those clean. But I don't worry about it because it doesn't usually get into my projects or affect my cutting or embossing. So sometimes it'll leave little, the cut marks on the plate will leave marks on my paper, but if that is an issue, sometimes I'll grab copy paper or junk mail and kind of put that between the cardstock I'm cutting and the die, and that takes the texture from it. But yeah, just try running it under the faucet or don't even worry about it. Save yourself the time. What banner did you use, Deborah? It is from the Rustic pumpkin dies. It actually comes with the banner that perfectly cuts out the Wishing You the Loveliest Day stamp set. So the banner comes in the Rustic Pumpkin Dies, which if you get it bundled, the Hello Harvest bundle. Let's see, cut the larger pumpkin in half and spread it out to the smaller one. Let me read that again. Cut the larger pumpkin in half and spread it out to the smaller one, still being in the middle. That is a good suggestion too. Let's do that. I'm gonna cut this guy in half. Great suggestion, Lonnie. So what she's saying is you take the middle and then you can bring these guys out more to make that pumpkin a little bit wider. Look at that. So compared to this guy, kind of hard to see, but a little bit wider for that pumpkin. Great suggestion. Rosa, I will have to check your comment with Google Translate. I don't speak Spanish, but thank you. I will check that after the live stream. And I did have success using E6000 on my magnetic plate. Great, Kate. I've heard some good success about, I haven't heard the E6000, but I've heard with Gorilla Glue. Coming back to this, sorry, I'd forget that I'm not showing the questions, where folks have removed the adhesive that's on there, and this may be on your honey-do list. Remove the adhesive that's already on there and then use Gorilla Glue and then put it under something heavy, and that seems to be holding tight as well. So great suggestion. E6000 is a great idea as well. But just remember, they've been sort of discontinued for now, so it's at your own risk, right? Smaller ones on top of the larger pumpkin. I think that it just doesn't look right, unfortunately. Let me show you that. If we do the smaller ones on top, it just stops looking like a pumpkin at some point. I don't know what that looks like. Right? So I think that's intended for that to be over the top. So you sort of have that three-dimensional impression with this being closer to, so it looks taller. But the suggestion to kind of split that larger one in half is a good idea as well. Like that, get a little bit of a wider pumpkin that way. So awesome. I think we are at the end of the questions. Thank you everybody for your suggestions, your questions. I always look forward to your questions because you've got great ones, and it's helping not just me understanding sort of the questions that you have, but also the audience. People learn so much from the questions that you ask, so I appreciate all of your questions. I'm going to pop back over here I will be live again next Wednesday for episode 252 of Live with the Paper Pixie, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay tuned. I'm catching up on backlog with my blog, with projects on my blog, so you'll see more and more projects you've seen before from the live streams, but I'm getting those blog posts published so you can refer back to them and make those projects yourself. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Thanks again for joining me, and if you enjoyed tonight's live stream, remember to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss my next video. Have a wonderful and blessed week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye.